Good day, good day, good day. Shout out to everybody who showed up. Thank you all for coming out. Shout out to for inviting me to speak to you all. I am so excited. Uh, before we get started, though, we gotta amp up this energy. I don't know how long you have been sitting down. I don't know how long you've been standing. I have no idea where you are in this world. But what I do know is today's presentation, there's going to be a little interaction. So we're going to keep you awake. All right. You're going to have to do some things. So the first thing I want to do before we get started is I want to understand where you're represented. Represent your hood. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Put in your area code, your phone area code, and add your city into the chat. Go ahead and do that. I want to know, who do we have in the building? Let's go. Let's go. Listen, I'm going to represent 207 because I'm also originally from Maine, but I'm also going to put in the 404 because I'm in Atlanta. So go ahead and do that. Let's get this going. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Come on. Let's see where we're at. Let's see where we're at. Okay. Okay, cool. Great. So, once again, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to talk about redefining the workplace and through cultivating connections. Now, what's great about this is it sets up perfectly for the keynote panel, redefining the workplace. So I kind of did that on purpose. We're gonna roll into that. So here we go. Here we go. Before we get started, though, I gotta tell you a story. I gotta set up this story. All right. I want to talk to you about Charisse. Okay, Charisse, she is a CFO of this new company. Their headquarters are based out of Atlanta, but she lived in California. She lived in California, and she was like, you know what? I'm going to move to Atlanta closer to the headquarters just so I can be more involved. She's part of the LGBTQ community. So she packed up her house, and guess what? She bought a house out on a farm. Now she could be on a farm on a lot of land. But because she's allowed to work remotely, right? Her company allowed her to work remotely. She decided, I'm going to pick a place that's an hour outside of downtown Atlanta because guess what? I want a bigger place. I want a yard. I want horses. I want all this stuff. Also, she wants to take care of her mom, and she wants to take care of her mom. So she's going to doing all this great things with her family. Okay. But after about a few months, she is loving life. She's loving the house. Her mom's is cool. She's taking care of her, and they're just enjoying life. But guess what? A new CEO is appointed, and the new CEO says, I need everybody to come into the office. Oh my gosh. Listen, we're in Atlanta, Georgia, and if you don't know, 75 South, it's a parking lot. It's a parking lot. There is no, let's get there quick. So she's driving and she's sitting in traffic. She's like, what did I do? I was just in California. I was just in LA. Now I'm dealing with all this traffic. Oh, so she rolls into her very first day at the office after being remote, and look at that empty office. Look at that. Nobody there. Nobody there. So just imagine you are Charisse. Could you imagine how she feels? She moved all the way across the country, right? And now she goes into an empty office. But now let's talk about David, all right? Now, David, he went to Georgia Tech. His partner went to Georgia, so they have the whole house divided. David was in a fraternity in college. He learned really how to sell on the golf course. You can see right there, he's making a deal on the golf course. That's how he learned, right? Not only that, but he also learned, like, hey, he was part of the stock market. So you can see right there, there's just this energy. He loves that energy. It's what he knows. It's how he was able to sell. Now, listen, I don't want you to judge a book by its cover, because you know what? David, he's invited to the cookout. David loves all sorts of music. David's got the Wu-Tang Clan in his playlist. David's got a little Old Dirty Bastard, a little ODB, maybe a little Tupac, but also in addition to that, he also likes a little Maroon 5. He likes a little Grateful Dead. So David, he's a well-rounded dude. He's down. He volunteers. He just is down. Okay. But again, David grew up in a different era. He used to that energy. But he's the new CEO of this company. He moves over, and the very first thing, he rolls in to his office, and look at that. It is empty. There's no energy there. So what is David supposed to do? He's made his way. He's successful. He's gotten to where he is utilizing this energy to succeed. So you know what David says? He rolls in, the office is empty, there's no energy. David's like, listen, I just took over this company. I am not going to allow the company that I'm running to be, no energy like that. So guess what he does? He requires everyone to come into the office. So David, we have to be a little bit compassionate to David a little. Like that's how he grew up. That's what he knows. And he wants to do his best job. Um, but Charisse, she moves across the country. She's expecting that workplace flexibility, and they take it away from her. Um, but both of them experienced the same thing, but from different perspectives, right? So I just want you to all kind of take a moment, really think about how that can impact different people. What are the thoughts around that type of energy? What are the thoughts about workplace flexibility as far as you being able to take care of your family, living in a place that's better, just a better way of life for some people? So, today's roadmap, where are we going to go? All right. So, we're going to talk about the state of remote work a little bit, where we are today, where it was. We're going to talk about social connections, meaningful relationships, and then we're going to talk about redefining the workplace. All right. So, here we go. The historic growth of remote work. Shout out to Dr. Nick Bloom. Love that dude. Funny guy. Love talking to him. Shout out, Nick. All the work that you're doing from the work from home research team is great. But as you can see here, remote work started in 1965. Shout out to Jack Nillis, who created the term telecommuting in 1960. So, go back into the history books and take a look at that. But you can see remote work was really on a steady incline, right? It's on a steady incline right there. And you can see even during times where there's a recession, the increase of remote work kept increasing more and more and more. But look at that right before the pandemic, 4.7%. That was the highest it was. And then boom, the pandemic right up to 61%. The highest it has been historically and ever. But then we came down to reality a little bit. And now we're kind of looking at 27% of work from home historical work share. That is still a huge increase, a huge increase. It's five, what is it, six times all the math majors, what is that, eight, seven times the amount of remote work. I think it's a couple 100% increase. So yeah, a lot of things are happening. Remote work is here to stay, and you can really see that in just overnight, the whole world kind of experienced this. So, as a remote work consultant, we do have a little bit of empathy for organizations, because that's a very difficult shift from something that we're used to for a couple 100 years. So that's kind of the history there. Where are we today, though? As far as flexibility, everyone's like, oh, remote work is dead. No one's doing this. But take a look at the Flex Index. Rob Sadow, thank you, man. From the Flex Index, they're doing a great job from Scoop. But this is a report from Tuesday, April 16th. 82% of US headquartered enterprises are going to offer some sort of flexibility. So even if it isn't 4 or 5 days a week remote, there are going to be some days where individuals are independent of their location. They are distributed workforce. So as you can see there, only 18% are going to require full-time in office. And that is actually going to decrease the full-time office. Over time, this has actually increased the flexibility. So no, flexibility is not going anywhere. It is here to stay. But here we go. Here are some of the different ranges of some of the workplace flexibility of some of the brands that you recognize. Over time, some of these have changed a little bit, but it just gives you, the different flavors of ice cream, should we say. You know what I mean? Look at this. You got Tesla and Goldman Sachs, really famous for saying you got to be in the work, you got to be in the office 5 days a week. And then you got Disney, you got Redfin, a couple set days. You have Zoom, a little bit more flexibility. And then you get all the way over to the right to Automatic. Shout out to Matt Mullenweg from WordPress. That's his company right there. And Zapier. Shout out to Zapier. Those two companies, they're fully remote. So you can see the different percentage. Only about 8% are fully remote, 21% for hybrid key events in person. Like, hey, we're having this special event. We all have to come together. So you can see the different percentages. But if you go all the way to the left, there's only 7% at, always in person. Maybe that number's up just a tad, but for the most part, this is where flexibility is going to be. So Now you have an idea of some brands that you recognize that are a little bit more flexible. Now, this, I absolutely love this. The demand. Now, let's talk about employees. Okay, so you have leadership, you have all these, seeing all these headlines of, well, return to the office is better for this, is better for that. But the demand, the demand is what's happening. Employees want that flexibility. They've had a taste of it, to be able to work and also maybe hang out with the kids, go to a soccer game, not deal with that traffic like Sharice. Sharice had to deal with that 75 South. But just take a look at this. It's interesting because this article was in September of 23. And I firmly believe today you can see that the demand is even more because there are less jobs that are being marketed as remote. So, what this article is talking about is you versus 4,000 other applicants because so many people want to work remotely, right? Listen, this job, this company posted this job. It's a people operations job. 55 to 77,000. It's a good salary, but nothing outrageous. It's not even six figures. And look at how many applicants they received after just 1 week, 573, and then after 2 weeks and 3 weeks. They ended up having a total of 1,700 applicants, and then it rose up to about 4,000 over time. As you can see here, this just blows my mind. The chances of you being selected against that competition, I just absolutely love this. 0.06% chance. You have a better chance of getting into Harvard. You have a 60 times you have a 60 times better chance of getting into Harvard. Does that make sense? 60 times better chance of getting into Harvard. And I also like this one here. It's on par with having a birthday on leap year day. That's pretty funny. So the demand is absolutely there. The demand is there. Mythbusters, lack of productivity. There's little evidence. There's little evidence to show whether you're more productive in remote or hybrid or less productive. It's actually in the middle, right? Some people, yeah, I feel like I'm more productive. Well, you probably have more time, right? So are you more productive? Are you working more, right? And for all those that say you're less productive, no. This study right here just said it doesn't matter either way. So again, another common thing that a lot of people talk about. So how can we look at redefining the workplace to be your strategic advantage? How can you do that? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So a little bit about us. We got to say something about us. My name is Kaleem Clarkson. I'm the COO of Blend Me Inc. We were founded in 2013, and it's pretty funny. I love showing the first tweet there that we had in 2013. I love showing that screenshot. What would you prefer, a $5,000 raise or be able to work from home? Well, guess what? That number has increased up to $20,000. People said I'll take a $20,000 pay cut to enjoy that flexibility. We do some things. We do some remote work consulting. We do some onboard strategy design, internal communications, and we're kind of a top voice in the industry. We've done some cool things. One of my favorite things here is the equality, openly talking about pay. CNBC special is really cool. Check it out. We are big advocates of pay transparency for sure. So, okay. Enough about us. Enough about us. It's about you. That's what we're here for. So let's just imagine that your organization, you all have committed to being either remote or hybrid, but you're thinking about it and you're feeling it. It's just like, geez, things have changed around here, right? Like ever since we've done this flexibility type stuff, things aren't right. I just don't know what it is. So I would like, whoa, wake up now, wake up. Here we are. I want you all to participate here. I want you to go into the chat and I want you to tell me what's your biggest struggle while working remotely? What is that? Okay. So go ahead. I already need a drink. I'm going to take a sip real quick. Go ahead and put it in the chat and put in what your biggest struggles are. All right. Go ahead. All right. All right. Keep them coming now. Keep them coming. Here we go. What are your biggest struggles with working remotely? All right, so we have the Buffer State of Remote Work. Shout out to Buffer. They've been doing this since like 2000. I can't remember, 2017, 2016. You know what? Somebody go ahead and Google that for me while we're doing this and put it in the chat. How long has Buffer been doing the State of Remote Work? If anyone's from Buffer, let us know. Let us know. But you can see here, they did the survey and you have a whole bunch of different things here. 21%. They say that they stay too home. They stay home too often because they don't have a reason to leave. Listen, I've done that before. Don't trip. How many of you all have got up at 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning and got to brush your teeth? Look up at 7 p.m. You're like, oh snap, I gotta brush my teeth. Oh my gosh. Hey, I've done it. Don't act like you haven't done it. Let's see, you got 11% not being able to unplug, 14% working across time zones is difficult, difficulties collaborating and communicating. And then last but not least, 15%, the biggest struggle is loneliness. We're going to talk a little bit about loneliness. But when you look at all these, what do you all think that these four that I have highlighted, what do you think they all have in common? Go ahead. All right. Go ahead. But throw it in the chat. Throw it in the chat. What do you think all of those four have in common? Well, when you come here, it's struggling with connection. They're struggling with connection, loneliness, difficulties collaborating, working across time zones. Why do we do this? And then I stay home too often. Those are all about connection. It adds up to 58%. 58% of all of the struggles around remote work are are directly related to connection. Okay. So just think about that. Out of all the things that you have a problem with remote work, it's almost 60% of the struggles. So here we go. Shout out to Adam Grant. We were talking about loneliness earlier, and connection. When you're lonely, you feel invisible. I've felt that before. But one of the ways to help with that feeling is to help someone else be seen. So it's really, really important. Anyone can help somebody else. Now I kind of want to talk about the impact of loneliness physically. These slides, I'm sure some of you've seen some of these statistics before, but this is just shocking of just how dangerous loneliness can be. In fact, I believe the World Health Organization has stated that loneliness is an epidemic. I believe so. Some epidemic. Yeah, I believe so. Look that up. Look it up. But they basically said it's a problem. It's an issue. There are so many people who are lonely. There are so many people on this planet who are lonely, especially with these digital devices. But look at number one. Can you imagine? It's as bad as for your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I don't even know if I could get up to two, let alone 15. Oh my gosh, as we'd say up in New England, that's puffing a lot of butts a day. That's harmful. That is very harmful. As harmful as never exercising, as dangerous as being an alcoholic, and twice as dangerous as obesity. So loneliness has a physical impact on you, on us. So it's just really something that you really need to think about. So what about loneliness's impact on the workplace, right? We're talking about the personal health before, but what about the workplace? I find again these statistics fascinating, right? Like out of all of these things, just think about this. If you focused on lonely employees, like look at number one, lonely employees take double the amount of sick days. Like, think about that. That can cost you so much as an organization. Let's see, decrease in engagement. All right. If you're in the C-suite, look at that number five. Loneliness impacts the C-suite. I think that that's kind of interesting right there. 61% of all CEOs, um, and nearly 70% of first-time CEOs believe it's lonely. You've heard that phrase. It's lonely. It's lonely at the top. It's true. It's true. So the other one that is my favorite here, my favorite statistic on this slide is number four. Just look at that. A best friend at work increases engagement by 7 times. 7 times. Now, look, we all don't have to have a best friend at work. I mean, we get that. But that just goes to show how important a connection in the workplace can mean. 7 times the engagement, that is a significant increase in profit, significant increase in revenue, all sorts of things there, decrease in turnover. That is a major, major statistics there. So now that we understand the importance of loneliness, right? What can organization do? What can organizations do, especially for for fully remote companies, for hybrid companies? You need to start thinking about how can we fix this challenge. People struggling with 60% just told us that basically they're struggling with some sort of connection. So, as an organization, we advise our clients to create a social connection strategy, right? You have to create a strategy, a way to ensure that people are going to basically not be lonely and be connected, feel connected to the organization, even. So I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Priya. I had to do it. I had to do it, Priya. Like Priya's up next. You have to stick around. Obviously, Priya Parker, the author of The Art of Gathering. I had to steal the quote because it just makes so much sense. So you have to stick around to hear what she has to say. But I just absolutely love this quote because basically what she's saying here is I move if someone's having a challenge of trying to figure out like why we should meet, forget about what, but focus on the why. Move from the what to the why do we need to come together? Why are we doing this? It's all about the purpose. You hear what I'm saying? Nobody wants to drive into an office to do the work that they could be doing in their home. In fact, focus time, people who need deep focus, a lot of times need to be able to work from home. So what about the three types of connections? So I know I'm sure that there are other organizations out there that categorize the connections in different buckets, but we here when we thought about this and we said, you know what, we kind of feel like that there are three buckets of connections. Number one, a professional. So you have your mentors, your coaches, your advisors, your peer-to-peer cohorts, your masterminds, your associations, your friends at work, your professional connections. That's your professional life, right? And then you have lifestyle, your friendships, your hobbies, well being, things that you find in common, just enjoying life there, just having fun. And then last but not least, intimate. That's right. Now, look, I know some of you right now, like, bro, I don't want this job anywhere near my intimate relationships. So you have romantic relationships, you have political. We feel like in spiritual, these things are really close to your heart and mean a lot. Now, are we saying we organizations to create dating nights? Absolutely not. And I bet you some of you be like, yo, keep that out my sheet. Keep my job out my sheets. I don't want that in my sheets. You know what I'm saying? But no, what we're saying is as an organization, we just talked about these are the biggest struggles that people are having. You need all three types of these connections. We all know someone who has all of the professional friends that they can imagine, but they still feel lonely. We know somebody that has all of the romantic relationships and all the intimate relationships that they have, but they don't have any lifestyle connections or any professional connections, and they're just not connected connected as a full. They're not full. So what can we do? We can create a social connection strategy. Yes. So what is a social connection strategy? It's a plan of action, right? It's a plan of actions that is designed to reduce loneliness and improve collaboration by um, intentional opportunities. That's the key word. A plan of action, intentional for employees to build professional, lifestyle, and intimate connections, all three. So that is what a social connection strategy is. So, how do you build one? Now, I'm not going to be able to go into this fully, but I want to give you an idea of like, hey, Kaleem, how could we go about creating this strategy? I don't know. I don't know. Well, here we go. Number one, we always suggest in any type of change management initiative is to establish a working group, right? You want people from all levels. A lot of us in the people ops, a lot of us have been doing change management. This might be new to you, but the whole point of this is that you want perspectives from every levels of the organization, right? The second thing is you have to collect data. We want to make decisions on data. And I think that's where a lot of people right now are upset with their organization is when they do these return to offices or these new policies, they don't go and show any PowerPoint statistics or any statistics as to why we're doing this. Actually, if anybody knows of any organization that shows statistics of a decrease in productivity before they complemented or created their work from home policy or return to office policy, I'd love to know. So throw that in the comments. But you got to collect data on these connections, make decisions based on data, plan the events, and then you have to assess. So, what are some of the things that you can do around the workplace? We talked about this. Just like Priya said, you have to think of the purpose. Why are we getting together? But what are some ideas? What are some ideas that would allow someone like Charisse to be like, hey, if I'm going to battle traffic, if I'm going to go into traffic and battle, is it going to be worth it for me? Why am I going to do all these driving and going through cars when I could just be at home? Why is it going to be worth it? So here's some ideas of what we believe a physical office or a physical workplace, or you know what, even a digital workplace. You have fully remote companies that do retreats, right? You have hybrid companies that have their own office spot. These work for everybody. Your workplace can be wherever you say as an organization it is. So number one, what's a good purpose for getting together, right? Well, to build social connections, not work connections, but those social connections that we talked about. So, some ideas for connection. We really love community service projects, maybe near your office. That's a really great way for people to volunteer. And also a good way for your organization to be seen in the community. And, people bond over that stuff. We have the office happy hour lunch. Notice I put happy hour lunch, right? Because people don't want to come back to the office or stay late after work. We firmly believe if you're going to do something like this, let them have some relief by not having to do any work that day and have something during office hours. Employee recognitions awards. Shout out to HubSpot. They've done one of the coolest things I've ever heard is they produce a moth series where their employees get up and tell their story and share their personal story. Believe it or not, most people don't know a lot about their colleagues. So that's a really cool idea. So connections. Make it about connections. You don't have to come together and do work. Make it about the connection. All right, strategic planning. Strategic planning is great. We need to gather employees to like get on the same page, right? We need to see the vision. We all need to be rowing in the same direction. So company-wide retreats are great. Collaborative workshops, that's pretty neat. Like where maybe you have somebody doing these interdepartmental things. We'll talk about that in a second as well. And then like just getting together to whiteboard things like that. When you're dealing with complex problems or complex challenges, whiteboarding in person, there is some advantage to being there. So, I strategic planning is another really good purpose to get together. Professional development. Listen, we all want to do better at our jobs. Most people always want to do better and grow the ladder. So, professional development is a great way to bring people together. Ideas for learning. You have interdepartmental learning events. You can have some external experts, a little plug. Sorry, I have to plug it. Bring in an external expert to talk about something, right? And I really like hosting industry meetups with customer involvement. I think that's really cool. So, say you have a marketing department or a development department, and you host a meetup and invite some customers, invite the industry to be there. A really great way for people to learn. Mentorship. Now, listen, mentorship can be challenging. Mentorship can be challenging if you're doing it remotely. It can be done. It can be done very well. But sometimes, junior employees, they want to be connected. Believe it or not, younger people actually do want to go into the office because they want to build their connection. They want to do that. And what's great about meeting in person, especially in a mentorship situation, is someone could really, really observe those nonverbal cues. Yeah, we got video, but the body energy is kind of tough to gauge through a screen. Really like those small group mentorship sessions. And we kind of talked about it. It's really great for that immediate feedback, but small group mentorship sessions are great. We do that with our new employees, like a new employee cohort. So, that is it. We're at the end of the presentation. I want to say thank you so much for being here with me. Also, let's connect. Please connect with me on LinkedIn right there, or you could also connect with us at blendmeinc.com. And, I just kind of want to end with, look, we all have had experience with working remotely. And even if you're a manager, if you're a VP, a manager, even an individual contributor, if you think about building social connections and those different connections, it's not just about work. We are a whole self. That's why we talk about work life integration, right? So, once again, I appreciate you being here. I hope to see you all soon. And don't forget to stick around for Priya Parker's session next. I'll talk to you all later. Peace.